I'm starting my 4th week of quarantine today. Quarantine has really shaken up the routine for almost everyone. And it has a lot of people, including me, going back to basics. So here we go, 7 ways quarantine has me living like a 1950s housewife. Number 1, I'm a stay-at-home mom now. In a sense, we're all stay-at-home moms right now. Before quarantine, I worked on freelance projects about 3 days a week. Now my husband's working from home and my main job is to keep the kids away from him. Number 2, a home-cooked meal every night. So before quarantine, we would usually go out to dinner a couple times a week, maybe 3 times, or we would get takeout. Now the governor has closed restaurants for dine-in eating. A lot of them are still doing dine-out, carry-out. I'm earning less money, so we don't have money to go do things like that. So it's home cooking all the time now, which is actually a lot closer to how our grandparents ate. I really do enjoy cooking, and especially now that I have a chance to get the prep work done in the afternoon, that time right before dinner when I'm cooking is way less stressful. And this is something that everyone can do now that we're all home during the day. You can take your lunch hour and do the prep work for dinner. And I guarantee you that stressful hour between 5 and 6 while you're cooking dinner and everything is crazy, the stress level goes way down if you've got your prep work done ahead of time. I've really enjoyed using the app Supercook to find recipes that I can make with items that I have on hand. This is a skill that a lot of our grandmothers and grandparents had, and we rely so much on recipes that for a lot of us it's a little bit harder. The app is a really nice way to relearn that skill with a little bit of help. I've also been following Allie Peach's videos on Facebook about cooking with kids and family dinners. And her perspective is just, look, we're all home now, so we have the opportunity to do some things that maybe we wanted to do before but never found the time to do, such as cooking with our kids or eating more family dinners. And so she gives some really great, realistic, practical tips for doing those things. Number 3, open the windows for some fresh air. So it's spring, and for the first couple weeks of quarantine in my area, it was rainy and cold almost the entire time. And then finally, the weather got pretty. And I opened up the windows and I felt like a new person. It just felt so good to have fresh air and to hear the sounds from outside, the birds, and even people mowing their lawns. It just felt like I was connected with the outside world without actually being outside. I feel like so often, especially now with the wonderful HVAC systems that we have, we kind of hermetically seal ourselves off from the outside world. And part of it's the time of year, but I really feel like to feel more connected to nature, to our neighbors, just open up your windows, especially if it's a nice day. And I guarantee you the fresh air will lift your spirits. Number 4, get outside more. Even when the weather was cold and rainy, I was sending my kids outside. Now, mine are very tiny, so I have to go out with them. We had to get outside, especially because we're not doing our normal things. We're not going to our music class. We're not going to play dates. We're not doing these things. So we have to get out of the house somehow, and thank goodness I have a backyard. And I have these waterproof pants that I bought for $30 each. They are worth every penny because especially my toddler, he's still at the age where he just sits down wherever he feels like and he's in diapers. So the fact that I can put on these waterproof pants and even if it's damp outside, he can just do whatever he wants and I don't have to worry about a soggy butt. Our kids didn't have a whole lot of things to do outside, and that has definitely changed over the last few weeks. Our park at the end of the block actually shut down. They put caution tape around it. That used to be their main playground. But now I made a rope swing myself. I'm very proud of that, of being resourceful. And my daughter loves swinging on it. My parents brought over my little brother's sandbox from when he was a kid. We don't have sand in it right now, but they are playing with water and some little plastic boats. And other than that, oh, and sidewalk chalk, lots of sidewalk chalk. And I've also been doing a lot of gardening. Again, time of year, but it makes me feel productive and creative. And I'm getting outside, and I'm getting the kids outside, and I'm keeping the kids away from my husband while he works. So it's one of those things that really ticks a lot of boxes for me and makes me feel a lot better. Number 5, I've gone back to cloth diapers. I had a bunch of cloth diapers in my closet just sitting there. A dear friend had given them to me. I had used them with my firstborn, and I just never got around to it with my little guy. And you know, this all hit, and I heard of people being in a bind to find diapers, and some people couldn't find diapers, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I have literally no excuse now. So I've finally gotten them out, and I have been using them. We still use disposables at night, but yeah, I mean, I'm home, and why not? And it makes me feel a lot better about not contributing so much to the landfills and things like that. So yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm completely aware that the cloth diapers I get to use are so much easier than the cloth diapers in the 50s. And I've actually come across a couple of really great resources about the history of diapering. There's one blog post that I'll link, and there's also a podcast called Our Parents Did What? And I will link that below too. They have a whole episode on the history of diapering. It is fascinating. So if you want to learn more about that, just go down below into the description and it'll be there. You know, you guys know I love making numbers with my fingers. So number 6, this one's gonna get a little personal, and I hope my husband doesn't mind, but I'm definitely experiencing a bit of feminine mystique. We had a huge fight about housework. We were both going at it, like we were both going for the jugular, and we resolved it that day, and we were talking about it later in the week. And basically our issue was that, you know, I'm doing this whole stay-at-home mom thing, and when you're doing that, or when we're doing that, we naturally gravitate towards traditional roles. So I am doing like the vast majority of all the housework and everything, and you know, there's some resentment on both sides, and it's not a good place to be. I have been trying to read The Feminine Mystique. I haven't found a whole lot of time. I've only read the first part of the book, really, but the phrase that sticks with me is this sense among the women that Betty Friedan interviewed of, is this all there is? And I've definitely been feeling some of that. And I talked with my husband, and I basically said, look, I don't want our kids growing up thinking that mommy does this and daddy does that. And so we are still trying to figure out, even if I'm staying home with the kids all day, how do we more equitably split up the duties that keep our household running? Everything from, you know, doing our taxes and making sure our finances are in order, to doing the dishes and cleaning up from dinner, to cooking dinner. So it's definitely still a work in progress. There are a couple things that we have been doing that I have really appreciated. One is trying to clean up from dinner as a family and not doing another activity until dinner is all put away. Our 3-year-old she hates doing this, but she can take things to the refrigerator, put things in the trash, put things in the sink, things like that, if we ask her to do something very, very specific, and I think that's very good. Now, my little guy, he will just, like, if mommy's sweeping, he will get out his little broom and sweep and make a mess, but it's really cute. But he's, you know, he's getting into the swing of things, but that has really helped, and I hope that that continues, you know, my entire life. So that, and just, you know, trying to think of each other. Has the other person had a break from the kids at all that day? Honestly, cooking dinner is a break from the kids, you know? So we will switch up who's cooking dinner. So anyway, that got really long, sorry. But yeah, gender roles and meaningful work and a sense of fulfillment are definitely things that are issues when you're the stay-at-home parent. And they're just things that we have to deal with and figure out what to do about. So, number 7, ignore your kids. This is my favorite retro parenting tip. I remember being in Starbucks sometime last year and I was overhearing some older ladies talk about when they were children, and they were in their 70s and 80s, it looked like. So they were probably talking about the 40s and the 50s, and one of them, I distinctly remember, she said, my mother didn't let us in the house until it was time for supper. Like, they walked home from school and they were not allowed in the house. They had to stay outside until it was time for supper. So, you know, times change, but the kids, they're really gonna be okay. With the caveat that the area that you're leaving them ignored in is childproof. But they're really gonna be okay on their own. Mine are 18 months and 4 years, and I can leave them alone for half an hour. Of course, you know, there are, Mommy, I need help on the potty, and screams that I have to go investigate and things like that. But, you know, earlier this week, I actually left them both outside and they played happily for 45 minutes while I cleaned up the kitchen. I felt like I had just unlocked a new power in motherhood, you know. I'm not trying to say that, like, you're just doing it wrong. It's really easy. I'm not saying that at all, but I am saying that I think they're more okay on their own than we think they are. I think we can leave them alone on their own just a little bit longer than we think we can. So there you have it. 7 ways quarantine has me living like a 1950s housewife. For good or for worse, it's the life now. So I hope you all are surviving, finding ways to pinch pennies if you need to. I hope this has left you feeling capable. I know it seems really overwhelming right now, but look, people have gone through these things before. We will get through it. We are totally capable of doing what's set out for us. You know, sometimes the kids eat ice cream for dinner. Like, so what? You're gonna get through it. So you can do it. I believe in you.